Hey, everybody, we're just going to give everyone a second here to log in, and then we're going to start the show. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar, co-hosted by the New York Oracle User Group and Oracle partner Viscosity North America. We've got Oracle ACE Director Charles Kim here presenting for us today. So I'm expecting to see some great questions from the audience. Yes, it's a live webinar, so feel free to submit questions. You should see a Q&A field, and Charles will get to those questions as he can or following his presentation today. My name is Monica Lee. I'm the marketing director here at Viscosity, a full Oracle stack consulting firm. And we've got core expertise in Oracle database, including RAC, Oracle Apex, zero downtime migrations, performance tuning, high availability, you name it. We've got decades of experience in infrastructure, including engineered systems. And we've most recently been finishing up upgrading a bunch of our customers to 19C, prepping you guys for 23C. And we host workshops through orapub.com. I'll talk a little more about Viscosity, but first I'm going to let NYOUG tell you a little bit about them. Today we've got Coleman. He's gonna wave to you there. You might recognize him from all of our past 3 years of webinars. And now we've got Rob from NYOUG joining us as well. And he's going to show you a little bit about NYOUG.
Okay. Thank you, Monica. I'm Rob Edwards. I'm treasurer with New York Oracle User Group. NYOUG was formed in 1984 for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users for the Oracle software products. We can be found on Twitter, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on our own website, nyoug.org. They'd like to thank Monica and Viscosity North America for co-hosting these webinars with us for the last 3 years since May 2020. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Rob. Yes, it's been a great 3 years. We're excited to keep providing webinars to you all and great content like this today. So I'll try to make this quick. I know a lot of you are probably already familiar with Viscosity, but as always, I'm here to remind you a couple things we could help you and your organization with. Viscosity is built upon these 3 pillars you see here: data, apps, and cloud. Across the bottom, you'll see a couple things that we'll offer across all 3 pillars. So if anything here speaks to you, if you need any kind of professional services within these 3 pillars, please let me know. Me and my team will follow up with you guys after today's webinar, and hopefully you also are following us online as well. This slide right here just shows some of our consultants who represent Viscosity as well as Oracle through the Oracle ACE program. If you're not familiar with the ACE program, Oracle awards these titles to different non-Oracle employees who represent some of our biggest, brightest technologists, speaking about Oracle technologies throughout the world. So you see Charles here. Hopefully you recognize some of these other guys on our team who are also amazing speakers. They speak around the world. They speak at user groups domestically, and they also speak at Oracle Open World. They're continually writing, publishing posts, blog posts, books, you name it. And they've also all, I think, presented for us at NYOUG and Viscosity. Okay, on this page, this is a couple other services we provide. Again, the ones I like to point out the most are going to be your health checks, near zero downtime migrations, and Oracle license management. I always recommend to people, if you're looking into Oracle licensing, please go through a partner. We're here to help you make that sticky process a lot easier. Obviously, we do it routinely, so it's a process that's much easier for us than you. We want to make sure you're getting only what you need to get paying for only what you need to pay for and using it and taking advantage of those investments thereafter. Okay, this page just shows some of our books. I've got some recent books on here. The most recent ones are going to be your Oracle database performance tuning right here, upgrading Oracle databases, and Oracle on Docker. Hopefully some of these are sitting on your bookshelf, but if not, you can find them all on Amazon or online. And then finally, I always like to close off my intro with orapub.com. This is where Viscosity hosts a lot of training, but it's also where we house our database of past webinars and conference presentations. So you can log in and create a free membership here, and you can access tons of recorded webinars from the past, as well as slide decks from conferences where there may not be a recording, but you can at least look at documentation there. Anything that the authors the presenters want to share will be there. There are paid memberships for Orapub, which will give you a little extra oomph to your training. So you can check that out, www.orapub.com. And with that, I'm going to let Rob introduce Charles to you, and then we'll get started.
Hey, thank you, Monica. Charles Kim is a co-founder and CEO of Viscosity North America, a highly specialized niche consulting organization comprised of industry experts in Oracle engineered systems, RAC, Oracle Cloud, virtualization, and performance tuning. He has also co-authored over 10 books around the Oracle ecosystem. He has an Oracle ACE director, VMware expert, Oracle certified DBA, a certified Exadata specialist, and a certified Oracle Linux, Oracle Cloud, and RAC expert. Charles was selected into the Oracle ACE program on May 2008 and became an Oracle ACE director as of December 2009. Charles became a VMware expert in the class of 2013. Charles holds certifications in Oracle databases, VMware, Red Hat, and Oracle Linux. He also has certifications in Microsoft and 30 years of Oracle experience on mission and business critical databases. Charles presents regularly at local, regional, national, and international Oracle conferences on topics of Oracle Cloud, RAC, Exadata, database consolidations, private database cloud, ASM, Linux best practices, DataGuard best practices, performance tuning, VMware virtualization best practices, and 7x24 high availability considerations. Over to you, Charles.
All right, thanks, Rob. Thank you, everyone, for joining my session on preparing for the Oracle Database 23C. I'm going to talk about how you can prepare for the upgrade, and throughout the webinar, talk about some of the new features. So there'll be sprinkles of 23C new features throughout the session. I'm going to skip some of the slides, but I do want to also mention we do have 4 ACE directors inside of Viscosity, and there's 23 ACE directors in USAIDs. And we also have another gentleman, Julio Ayapan, who is an Oracle ACE alumni and who will become an Oracle ACE again sometime this year, or at least that's what we're striving for. Look out for the upgrading Oracle database book. We just did a book signing at Blueprint 4D, but I did talk with Sean and Gary at the conference, and we are making modifications to the book by adding 23C new features with a big focus on auto upgrade and performance tuning aspects as well. We're obviously waiting for 23C to go live, but a lot of the, because we are a beta partner, we have already started to write those features in already. I'm doing another webinar on May 25th with the Suncoast Oracle User Group at 12 Eastern Time, and to present on the newest innovations in the Oracle Database Appliance. Please join us if you can. I'm actually co-presenting with the product managers at Oracle. Real quick about our events. Go to our events.viscosity.com for all the latest webinars. With all the ACE directors that I have with Viscosity, I can't keep track of them. And so I have to come here quite often to see what they're presenting on. One more thing about AuraPub. AuraPub, we are going to have in the near future a ChatGPT bot specifically around performance tuning. It'll release as a beta product. Craig has shown me some demos and looks really promising. So we're going to offer it to some of our members, but focusing on performance. Also with AuraPub, we're also introducing the advanced performance tuning consulting, and look for that as well. All right, let's go straight into the presentation here. As you can see, from a Oracle 20C and Oracle 22C, Oracle pretty much did away with those versions. Oracle 20C actually made preview in Oracle Cloud, but never made it to on-premise or anywhere else. And if you look at the history of all the new features, starting with really at the tail end of 19C, Oracle started to really push on the converged database. And so we as DBAs and data architects, and even some of the development DBAs, focus more on the converged database. And what I mean by that is there's all these features now that are inside the database, things like blockchain, things like JSON. And with each release, Oracle is adding more and more feature functionality to it. Also, if you look at the versions of the databases that you have, we're just talking with the board members at New York Oracle User Group. 12102 actually introduced pluggable databases in 2014. 9 years later, this time, pluggable database is now a big part of the database evolution. And we were luckily involved with a lot of key projects with SaaS customers and literally embraced pluggable databases since inception. And through that experience, we offer a lot of our knowledge to our attendees at webinars. If you are not aware, 23C developer release, the free version, which is really the Express Edition version, went GA April 3rd. You can download that from Oracle and play with a lot of the new features. We're still waiting for it to go, for the Enterprise Edition to go GA. And just like in the past, we're expecting it to probably go hit cloud first or engineering systems before it becomes available to the rest of the world. We're hoping that it'll be available Q2 calendar year, hopefully by end of June. But we'll just keep our fingers crossed. Let's look at the support dates. The key thing about 19C is that 19C is the version that has the 5-year premier support and also carries with it the option for extended support. If you look at the dates here on original premier support was supposed to end in April of 2024. Oracle has given the entire world 1 year of free extended support. So we all get support until April of 2025. That's really good because we can actually apply the April of 2025 release update before having to pay for extended support. I don't know if you were aware, all the EBS customers do get free extended support. Also, people who are on EULA also get free extended support as well. So 19C, if you have extended support, will be supported until end of April 2027. Now we're talking about 21C release. As you can see, Premier support ends April of next year, and Oracle will not offer extended support for 21C. So 21C is considered to be an innovation release. We're waiting for 23C to come out, and when 23C comes out, it'll be offered 5 years of Premier support, followed by 3 years of extended support. So this is what it looks like. 21C is an innovation release. All innovation releases only get 2 years of Premier support. The long-term release, which is 19C and 23C, will be offered 5 years of Premier support and 3 years of extended support. And I don't know if you guys have heard of market-driven support. This year will be the last year of market-driven support for 11.204. And with the market-driven support, you're paying on top of a premium for your extended support, but you're also paying another premium for the market-driven support as well. Let's talk about why customers want to upgrade to 23C and also why customers need to upgrade to 23C. Obviously, most of the customers that we have upgrade because of the compliance and regulation requirements. We have quite a bit of healthcare customers who are driven by HIPAA requirements. We have quite a bit of PCI financial related customers as well, and they upgrade during the window. At the same time, they apply patches on a regular basis. But just like us, we want to adopt the newest features, in particularly around security. Security is probably going to be one of the top reasons why customers want to upgrade to the latest release. Obviously, the converged database that I mentioned before, there's a lot of enhancements there. Performance will be another one. Lots of SQL tuning performance related options between 19C and 23C. And there's a ton of high availability features as well. And no one wants to stick around the shop that's still stuck on 11.204. And so it'd be a great way to attract talented people. All right, so from upgrading to 23C, there's questions that you have to ask yourself. How long does it take for your company to upgrade? And if you are upgrading, what are the features that you're going to adopt? Have you already adopted pluggable databases? Are there any complicated environments? Some customers take 3 months to upgrade the entire environment from dev all the way to prod. We have customers that takes years to upgrade the entire environment. And so depending on the pain points that you've experienced from your last upgrade can actually determine how long it's going to take. And as you see and have heard, 19C from a Premier support ends in 2015. And so that's less than 2 years. And so if you are one of these companies that do require an extended period of time for upgrading, because you have a lot of QA people who are testing the applications, or a lot of companies require backup plans and whatnot, definitely plan and schedule accordingly. Continuing on with the top 10 reasons why you need to plan your upgrade is that with the applications, with the 23C upgrade, some of the applications will need to be upgraded. Some of your drivers for ODBC and JDBC need to be upgraded as well. And there's compatibility issues between applications, even like ETL apps, like Informatica. Those versions need to be upgraded with the database version you're going to. Another big one is going to be database links. We actually had customers, big financial customers, who we could not upgrade all the way because they had so many ancillary systems that and they had database links everywhere. And so for that reason, we could not upgrade them all the way to 19C. We could only upgrade them to 12.1. And for that, and those are the kind of things you have to look at. Are you using things like heterogeneous services? This is the ability for you to create database links from Oracle to SQL Server. And those kind of things have to be tweaked. And also with database links, when you have, we actually experienced this with one of our big Exadata customers. We had one database that was upgraded first, the data warehouse, which is very common versus, and then upgrading your OLTP later. The data warehouse was 19C. The OLTP database was on a lower version. When we issued queries across a DB link, the remote hints behaved differently, and we had different expected behavior. So we spent during the weekend troubleshooting and triaging a lot of these performance problems. And also as part of the upgrade, as much as you can attract the talent, you need to make sure you have the talent to be, or the skill set and the experience to be able to support it. And this is where, consulting comes in. You can go to Oracle, you can go to other consulting companies that have the expertise. So how do we get to 23C? As of now, the only way to get to 23C from lower versions is that you must upgrade first to 19C or 21C. So if you have not done the upgrade yet, meaning that you're one of these customers that's still on 11204 or 12102 or 122 or 18C, you cannot upgrade to 23C directly. You must first go to 19C or 21C. And me personally, I would recommend going to 19C. 19C is where most of the customers have gone. And from there, hop to 23C. Another thing you need to note is that if you have not done the upgrade from previous releases, you will have to apply certain patch sets to be able to upgrade to 19C. And this is just another way to depict what I was just saying, that from 11204, you must upgrade to 19C or 21C before you upgrade to 23C. And here's another caveat. The minimum values for compatible. So we actually have quite a bit of customers. As we upgraded to 19C, they asked us to keep the compatible parameter to 11.2. And as we go to 23C, the minimum compatible parameter is 19. And so for everybody who has not upgraded yet, as you upgrade to 23C, you're going to have two possible hurdles you have to go through. One's going to be from a compatible perspective, and you must also migrate to pluggable databases. There are, from an upgrade method perspective, you can do export import or data pump export import. You can do database upgrades. And if you do an export import, you can hop from 11.2 directly to 23C. If you're doing upgrades, again, you must go to 19C first before you go to 23C. If you're doing transportable table space, you can go from 11.2 straight to 23C, or these other versions directly to 23C. If you're doing a Golden Gate or SharePlex, you can go straight as well. And if you're, and I put in here logical standby, transient logical standby, or DBMS rolling patching, DBMS rolling upgrade, you can go, you must also go to 19C as well. Viscosity is a professional services arm for Quest SharePlex. We do all of the SharePlex zero downtime migrations to cloud and zero downtime upgrades. We've probably have done close or more than 100 zero downtime migrations since our partnership with Quest. And we have, like, some of our consultants have done 50, 60 just with a single consultant. And with technologies like Golden Gate and Quest, not only can you do a zero downtime upgrade and migration, you can also do reverse replication and introduce zero risk from a upgrade value proposition perspective. So in the next slide, I'm going to go through what a SharePlex zero downtime upgrade or migration looks like. Please forgive the tiny little fonts. This was actually redacted from one of the diagrams that we gave to one of our customers. And even the data center was redacted as well. So if you think about from a Denver to Atlanta migration in this case, we back up image copy or incrementals to a shared NFS, we allow storage replication to replicate the backup to the target data center. And the whole idea is that we're doing an SCM-based backup from the Oracle database. You can actually do even an SCM-based export, but you have to worry about snapshot too old. So we always recommend to customers to do SCM-based RMM backups. And then we let that backup go to the other data center. And from there, we capture the SCN with the archive log and the timestamp just for our benefit perspective. And we replicate all the archive logs to the target data center. In this case, this is a 5-node rack cluster. And so we are allowing the SharePlex log capture data to sit on the staging area on the target data side. So SharePlex will actually capture redo information, convert it to its own proprietary format, and will ship that to the target environment. And from there, so we can actually do the backup a week before, 3 days before, even 2 weeks before, and just push the archive logs over. And those archive logs are only there for backup purposes. And then from the SharePlex perspective, we just let the SharePlex log just sit there in the SharePlex directory. And at the time of cutover, we enable what we call post. And once we enable post, the SharePlex logs that we captured will start posting entries inside the database. And there's numerous ways to tweak the queue and the process itself, and the database will actually catch up. And between the two environments, because it's not an outage, we call it a quiesce environment. And so from the SCM perspective, we allow the database to replicate up to the SCN, and from there we will actually open the database. And then once we're done with that, we will do row level validations between source and target databases. And we can even leverage DBMS comparison to even compare the table values. And for some of our customers who do have the need for reverse replication, and the whole idea is that once you go live with 19C in this other database, you want to be able to, just in case you missed something or there were some bad performance issues or missed a batch job, to be able to go back to your source, in this case in Denver, and then all the changes that were made in Atlanta will be there, and you can just go and point all your app servers back, change your DNS back, and you'll be back where you were before, and retry the migration to in this case to another data center at another time. And the same thing that we do for SharePlex applies to Golden Gate. So as I said before, 23C will go GA later this year. And here's the hard truth. Most companies will not go live with a new version like this for almost a year. And so, and that's another reason why I think Oracle gave us another year of extended support. When we did 19C, some of our large customers asked us, what is the right release update for us to go live with? And so we actually worked with Oracle, our engineers inside, as well as our PMs at Oracle, and we recommended a specific version. And we have customers that we do all the Exadata patching for, and we know with our, just from experience, where versions were cleaner and not cleaner than others. And so we recommended certain versions of RU. So we did talk about release updates. I mentioned this, MRPs, the monthly recommended patches. This is really a 19C thing, but it's also, people are saying it's the 23C as well. But starting in October 2022, or really November of 2022, on Linux platforms only, they are now going to monthly patches now. And so on the Linux side, they are sunsetting release update revisions, and they're going to go with MRPs. So MRPs will only exist for Linux. All of the other operating systems, Solaris, AIX, and others, will continue to have release updates. I'm also providing A lot of the MeldLink notes specifically around patching and upgrading. And when 23C becomes generally available, I'll update this for 23C as we do more and more 23C webinars. Let's talk about pluggable databases. Starting with Oracle 21C. Pluggable database is the only supported databases going forward. So 21C will be the first CDB only release. And with 23C going there, you're going to have to go to the pluggable database model. 19C, Oracle gave us, from a licensing perspective, the right to use 3 pluggable databases for free. And from a pluggable perspective, it does change how we do upgrades. It could even change how we do data center migrations and how we apply patches. Oracle is opening up these pluggable database features so that customers will like using pluggable databases and that customers will buy the multi-tenant option. That's their goal. Let you try before you buy. The pluggable database has evolved significantly since 12.1. If I go real quick from left to right all the way down, it started out as a read-only source when we did cloning. And in 12.2, they introduced the ability to do clones while the database was up and running. And during Open World 1 year, Larry Ellison actually did a demo of a pluggable database from on-premise migrating to Oracle Cloud hot without any downtime. Also, they introduced the concept of relocating a pluggable database, which uses the same technology of a hot clone, but the relocate also communicates with the application stack and makes sure that the application relocates with it to the new target of the CDB. In 12.2, they also introduced the concept of a refreshable pluggable database. So a pluggable database can be set up to be read-only, but not only that, you can have it set up to be a refreshable read-only database. So it leverages the archive logs from the source, and as it refreshes, it puts the pluggable database in mount mode, pulls all the archive logs, and updates the pluggable database and opens it up as a read-only database. And that's the refreshable pluggable database that was introduced in 12.2. In 18C, Oracle introduced the concept of a snapshot carousel for pluggable databases, which is only available on engineered systems. So engineered systems would be ODAs, Exadatas. And from there, from a snapshot carousel perspective, Oracle maintains snapshots of pluggable database. And at that time, Oracle maintained 7 copies or 7 days worth of pluggable databases. So you can actually snapshot clone from. In 18C, Oracle introduced the concept of a refreshable pluggable for switchover. And so that allowed us to use the refreshable pluggable databases, but also switch over, just like you would do from a data guard perspective. And I'll talk more about that in the upcoming, I have a whole section on that. Concept of a proxy pluggable database, where we can move a pluggable database and leave a skeleton template database that points to the target where the pluggable database ended up at. PDB archives are more like, I can take an entire pluggable database, make it into a zip file, put it on a USB and give it to someone else. They're continuing to do a lot more work on lockdown profiles. Think of a alter system command. When I give a developer the alter system privilege, the developer has so much power with it. Not only can they kill sessions, which is what they typically want it for, they can also manipulate in the .org parameters. Now with lockdown profiles, I can lock down a specific component of the alter system command in this example and give them only the ability to kill sessions, or give them, from a junior DBA perspective, give them the ability to, even at the granular level, increase CPU at night and decrease it in the morning. And so there's a lot of things from a multi-tenant perspective that I'm just barely touching the surface on. Multi-tenant is really good for patching. So instead of patching your PDB, you can actually move a PDB to another CDB and execute data patch. I actually had customers do this. We will not recommend this approach, but we had a customer do this, since I thought it was worth mentioning. They were running on 18, and we had another customer running on 12 too, and they moved the pluggable to 19 and did the upgrade on the pluggable afterwards. So I thought that was interesting approach. But with the 3 pluggable database, now I can consolidate 3 databases into 1 container for prod and 3 databases for UAT. The good thing about pluggable databases is that it meets all the compliance regulations that from a security perspective. So if you have PCI compliance requirements or HIPAA or anything else, you can actually do this from a pluggable database perspective. I would not recommend this for our smaller customers. We have some who actually do this. They put dev, QA, and prod in a single container database. And what's easy for them is that when we refresh dev, we just simply wipe dev out, drop pluggable database dev, and we clone from prod. It's instantaneous. But from a cloning perspective, we can actually go across the network and clone databases as well. From a high availability perspective, if you're doing maintenance on one node, you can move the pluggable database to another and then move it back. And so it simplifies your administration, patching. Whenever you do OS upgrades, there's many use cases for it. And I'm going to touch on some of the key features that were introduced in the later releases of 19C. So in 19.4, Oracle introduced the concept of CPU min count. So now I can set up reservations, the minimum CPU cores for a pluggable database. And with CPU count, I can set up the upper limit. So just like we do in VMware, I can set up reservations as well as the upper limit for my pluggable databases. With each pluggable now, I can have different patch levels in a multi-tenant environment. I can apply a specific RU to one pluggable, but I can isolate bug fixes for a specific pluggable database. And I'm just touching on key features that I personally like. Let's talk about high availability. With each release, like I said, there's more and more high availability features introduced. We'll talk about 19C Active Data Guard. We'll also talk about transient standby that was introduced in 11.106 and DBMS rolling package you can use to do near zero downtime upgrades, or rolling upgrades is what they're calling it. So I actually wrote the 11G Data Guard book with the product managers at Oracle, and I actually wrote quite a bit on the transient standby concept. So as you guys know, with Data Guard, I can do I can patch the DR site, switch over, and then patch the primary, and then switch back. So that's only applicable for patching. Now let's take that concept to full-blown upgrades. So with 19C, if I was in 19C and I wanted to upgrade to 23C, I can leverage the transient standby feature. The transient standby feature is just a feature of Data Guard and does not require Active Data Guard, but the steps are very manual. And you can actually look at my data book or Oracle Supports notes on how to do a transient standby. In 12.101, Oracle introduced the DBMS rolling package. It simplifies the transient standby components and even adds components on OEM as well. So basically what a transient standby does is it converts the standby to a logical database. And so now you're doing SQL apply versus block apply. And so it allows you to go between versions of Oracle. And again, like I said, if you're really thinking about doing a zero downtime upgrade in place, this is keyword in place upgrade, strongly recommend DBMS rolling. But if you don't have the active data guard license, you can get by with transient standby. All right, so we're actually building a high availability manager. It's going to be hopefully in the marketplace by end of July. And this is for customers who are on Azure and AWS, because as you know, there's no Oracle, quote unquote, doesn't really support RAC in that environment. But for those customers, we'll do local HA with fast start failover and also set up DR. The whole idea is that we're going to actually provide a UI for data guard instantiation and also the UI for monitoring and maintenance. And this is without the need of or for OEM. From an active data guard perspective, 19C introduced the concept of DML redirect. Now on the standby database, we can actually issue DML, insert, update, delete. But if you look at the diagram, the DML is really redirected back to the primary. Redo is generated and redo is sent back to the standby and is visible back to the client. We were able to do this in previous releases, but there was a lot of database links you had to do and a lot of tweaking you had to do. And this is done with the active data guard redirect DML in the .ro parameter, or you can set that at the session level as well. With fast start failover, prior to 12.2, we only had one observer. In 12.2, we now have up to 3 observer processes, but only one of them is ever active. In 12.2, with fast start failover, we can have multiple fast start failover targets. In 19C, we can change the targets without fast start failover being disabled. Also with 19C, they introduced new parameters for data guard, in particular around flashback logs. A lot of people don't like to use flashback logs, especially in an environment where the workload is very heavy, because when there's pressure inside of the FRA destination, they're worried that, or they have experience where it has caused outages in the earlier releases. So let's go into the 23C data guard enhancements. Earlier, I mentioned the concept of the ability for pluggable databases to do a switchover. The issue with this is that whenever we do a refresh pluggable database, we have to go back to the source. And not only that, we have to put the database in mount mode, go to the source, pull all the archive logs, apply archive logs, keep it and get it current, then we can open it up for read-only. So 18C introduced the concept of a redo repository, and it does require the active data guard licenses. But now I can keep, while the database PDB is in read-only mode, redo is shipped and maintained locally in the redo repository. So at the time of refresh, I am refreshing all my, applying all my archive logs locally. And also because, again, I am keeping the archive logs local to my data guard environment or PDB environment. I have near zero data loss architecture. Let's fast forward this concept to 23C. So in 23C, not only do I have a concept of a pluggable database, refreshable pluggable database, but now I can take a read-only database, make it rewrite, and then reconnect the pluggable database as a refreshable pluggable database, and then recontinue as a data guard. So it's very much similar to a snapshot standby concept, but at the PDB level. So I'm reading opening the pluggable database for read-write, behind the scene, flashing it back and re-enabling it as a refreshable PDB. Also with 23C, the per PDB time zone for sys queries is updated so that it works at each PDB level. Also in 21C, I can take the PDB from CDB1 and have it DR to CDB2. And I could take a PDB in CDB2 and have it DR to CDB1. So now both of the CDBs at different data centers can be fully used. From a rack perspective on 23C, you'll see that Oracle is moving away from Docker, mainly for licensing issues. And so you're going to see Oracle with Podman and Oracle support for rack on Kubernetes. Another key feature in 23C is for single instance databases. We'll have extra level of high availability, the concept of a dual instance rolling patching. And so basically what this is that users can now stand up 2 instances of a database on the same server and then patch them in a rolling fashion. Another key thing is that earlier we mentioned flashback logs and how Oracle is managing that better. Now in 23C, I can have flashback database logs outside the FRA. And we mentioned the monthly recommended patches, even though it is really mentioned as part of a 23C, but it's really, a feature that was added back in October, November last year. And also one more thing on this slide is that Oracle increased the number of columns to 4,096, which is huge. Another 23C is the ability for us to flashback time travel a given table or a schema. So they made enhancements here as well. And if you look at the time travel concept, this is what the other database vendors are calling their ability to flash back query. And so now we can flash back time travel a particular table and even a schema. So it enables us to track DML such as inserts and updates and even DDL operations. And it leverages flashback archive logs. And so we can issue flashback queries as of and through versions as well. So let's look at preparing for our upgrade. So one of the key things that we always tell our customers, purge the recycle bin. In 12C, this is automatically done with the pre-upgrade fix-up script. And if you run the pre-upgrade with the pre-upgrade jar, it will actually identify a lot of these things. Also, from a validation perspective, always make sure that you run UDORP first, compile all the invalids, know the number of invalids that you have, and after the upgrade, you should have equal number of invalids. And if you get lucky, you can even have less than the number that you have. Remove invalid components, and also remove components if you're not using it. And so my thing is that if you haven't used it in over a year, maybe you should think about getting rid of it. And there are a lot of components that we can get rid of. Apex happens to be one of them. If you have Apex inside the database and you don't, or the Apex schema, and you don't use Apex at all in your organization, we'll have it. As I talk to customers about their components inside the database, the old time DBAs used to run catalog, catproc, catexp, all the whole manual things. And at one time, I actually asked for a show of hands of people of how many of you guys are actually creating your databases manually. And I was really shocked the amount of hands that went up. And so these guys they have the same mentality. If I only want the minimal components, I want to be able to control what is being used inside a database. And a lot of that leads to security. The less you have to patch or an upgrade, the less issues you're going to run into. And a classic example, JVM. Again, if you're not using JVM, take it out of the database. So part of the upgrade, we always tell our customers to preserve your stats, minimum 1 month. We have some customers that keep 3 months plus. And then also learn how to compare AWRs between the upgrade. So knowing how to do a diff between the AWRs after the upgrade and before, it will give you a good summary of where the differences are in terms of performance. Always create a guaranteed restore point. GRPs do not need to have flashback logs. It just need to be in archive log mode. There's a misconception out there with quite a few DBAs about creating GRPs. Make sure that you have enough AWR retention. As I mentioned before, consider doing RAT, real application testing. We do have a few customers where we have gone and done the entire RAT testing and have taken the production workload and played it on a DR environment and have proven that after the upgrade that the performance is just as good or even better. And if you are using RAC, there's a grid infrastructure component. We always tell our customers to upgrade grid infrastructure first. Treat the grid infrastructure like you do OS. Upgrade it. You can have 23C grid infrastructure running for a month or so, and then upgrade your database afterwards, so that when you're doing your database upgrade, it's only the database. Another thing that a lot of people don't know about is from a AWR retention perspective, you can keep just the top SQL. So you can say top N SQL, meaning top 100, top 500, 1,000. Top 100 is what we typically go with, and you can use the syntax here. I mentioned the pre-upgrade jar earlier. You just need to have a version of Java and run the pre-upgrade jar, and it will actually create you the pre-upgrade fix-up scripts that you can run. Continuing on from a pre-upgrade check perspective, things like force logging, blockchain tracking, looking at your NLS time zone. These are more for documentation purposes. Looking at your database links, directories, external tables, looking at your jobs, DBMS jobs, and looking at scheduler. As you upgrade, Oracle is going to only support scheduler. Look at all the objects that had no logging previously, because they may be a source of contention after the upgrade. Capture the location of all your data files. Capture your OS level stuff, cron tab, profiles, shell scripts. Look at what's deprecated, and look at the version of Apex. Oracle does not upgrade Apex for you anymore, starting in 18C. So as part of the DB upgrade or DBUA upgrade or auto upgrade, you must upgrade Apex manually, starting in 18C. Here's a little pre-upgrade checklist that we did for our clients. Like I said before, the AWR, retention of 31 days, things like, this is really identifying what can I do before the actual cutover weekend. And that's things like being able to install my database software, patch my database software, and doing a lot of the backup stuff, running pre-upgrade scripts, running the diagnostic scripts, recording invalid objects, capturing whatever I need to, so that I have everything that's documented. So after the upgrade, I can validate that all of that's still there. Continuing on, in terms of data to capture, lots of stuff from Oracle Home, Network Admin, wallets. Look at your init.org parameters, look at all your RMAP parameters, look at all your listener stuff. If you're not using it, like Apex and JVM, get rid of it. Review all the underscore parameters. Look at your AWR retention. Look at your SAORA tab. Generate IPCS reports. Look at your SAR directory. And from an upgrade perspective, like I said, there's three main methods for an in-place upgrade. DBUA, DB upgrade. This is the old CAT upgrade that we used to run, and auto upgrade. So from a DBUA perspective, a lot of people like using DBUA in silent mode. Some people do DBUA even the GUI mode. I personally don't like the GUI mode. I find that it's harder for me to troubleshoot when things, a lot harder for me to troubleshoot when things go awry. And then from a DBUA perspective, you can specify parallelism, recompiling the invalid objects, upgrading the time zone, and perform fix-up scripts afterwards. If you do a manual upgrade, you have to upgrade the time zone manually. You have to execute the fix-up scripts manually afterwards. We've got to recompile after manually as well, and you can check the upgrade status with the UTL USTS.SQL script. All right, I got some questions here. Let me see what we got here. Are the monthly patches cumulative? Yes, they are. Flashback logs outside the F4A, would this be another ASM disk group? That can be. You could go to a file system as well. That was the biggest thing about flashback logs, is that once you, well, you can set it up now, but when it first came out, you could, once the FRA destination got full, or it was exceeded your FRA space, you disabled it, and that was the initial release when it was introduced. And to re-enable, flashback logs, you have to go put the database in mount mode. Since then, you can go back and forth, but still, the idea of moving it to another location could be if I'm running out of space for one, for example. But again, it's also, I think, for customers who have ASM disk groups that are more for backups and stuff like that, that's where they want to put it. DBUI will still be in 23C. Yes, and so I'm going to cover the last one in the upcoming section. The last question: what is the best approach for 19C non-CDB to upgrade to 23 CDB? And there's a lot of discussion. We can, if we're in person, we can actually talk about that for the whole hour. But let's go straight into auto upgrade. That was a really good timing for that. With auto upgrade, you got to have the minimum Java version. Must be 1.8 or greater. And also from a Java perspective, notice I'm using the Oracle Home Java, not the Java outside in user, whatever, right? From an auto upgrade perspective, look at note 2485.457.1. It has a lot of the notes related to it. There's a configuration file that you need. And auto upgrade will run the pre-upgrade scripts, run the auto fix-up scripts, perform the actual upgrade, and perform post-upgrade tasks. The key thing with auto upgrade is that if it fails, you can run it again, and it'll just resume where it failed off, where it failed from. And you can even schedule the auto upgrade as well. So source has to be 11.2 or higher. Target can be just about any release. This was when it first came out. So now it's 12, 18, 19C, 21C, and 23C as well. But remember, if you're 19C or below, you must first hop to 19C first, and then do a double upgrade to 23C. So here's a sample auto upgrade script. And in this case, we're going from 12.102 to 19C. We're going to tell it to do now. We're going to upgrade on this node. You can see also, there's another example you'll see. It accepts all the environment variables as well. I'm going to upgrade time zone. I'm going to ask it to run util.rp. Another cool thing about auto upgrade is that you can actually run it in analyze mode to see what it looks like, and then deploy the actual upgrade. Sorry for the duplicate slide. This is more of a complex upgrade, and we do have a lab for this. And so if you're interested in actually looking at this, shoot me an email, and then we can get you coordinated. We used to do a lot of this during the pandemic. We used to have 19C upgrade workshops, and we did it twice a year. And the reason why we did it twice a year is because the workshop was consisted of, I think, 6 webinars, and we would do full-blown labs. We do have our own ODA X8 with, I think, like 300 terabytes of storage, and we have other things in our lab that we can leverage. And we just recently had a customer donate their ODAs to us, and so we can continue to do more of these workshops. As you can see here, we have a global configuration file. This is just the stuff that everybody's going to have. And then from an upgrade perspective, again, common parameters and settings that will be relevant. For 19C, we are not choosing to migrate to pluggable in this example. And in 21C, because after 19C, you must be PDB, that from a PDB perspective, we specify the target PDB name and a target CDB as part of the upgrade. And we actually say copy option none, which basically means that it's not cloning the database. And so from a PDB perspective, if a customer has a VLDB, very large database, cloning would be a hard option, mainly because they might not have the space. And so customers who we upgraded from 19C to, from let's say 12.1 to 19C on Exadatas, customers who have multi-terabyte databases, we do an in-place conversion to PDB. And so what does that actually mean? So if you look at from a OMF perspective, which complies really with OFA, if you look at the directory where PDB lands at, it's going to be, for example, plus data / Oracle SID, or the CDB in this case, / PDB / data file name. The older convention is plus data SID / data file without the PDB in between. So you're gonna have to basically live with that as part of the migration. All right. So let's see here. We covered the question about the conversion to CDB. Better to move. Better to move than upgrade the database. Oh, sorry. As I'm reading, more questions are popping up. Or use auto upgrade to move and upgrade. It's really your own preference. If you want to let auto upgrade do it for you, let auto upgrade do it for you. It's just another step that you don't have to do. Can you use auto upgrade with EBS? Unfortunately, not that I know of. We've done several EBS upgrades for customers and auto upgrades, because you have to follow their specific way of doing things. Can you use auto upgrade for cross-Indian AIX to Linux? Unfortunately, that's not possible. The only way you can do cross-Indianness is through a logical, things like SharePlex or a Golden Gate. And that's, in this case, it'd be in addition to things like transportable table space for a large database or export import. Yes, we'll definitely provide a copy of the presentation. So as you go to 23C, you must create a CDB ahead of time, or yes, you must create a CDB ahead of time. And then you're actually migrating your PDB to it. Questions moved really quick. All right, so how about non-CDB to CDB PDB conversion? I don't have it in this slide. I have another PDB presentation. Let me see here. I'll say ping me at ckim@viscosityna.com, and I'll send you the instructions for that. All right, let's talk about Apex upgrade real quick. Like I said, starting with 18C, Apex is no longer upgraded for you automatically. So to upgrade Apex, use the same script that we use to install Apex to actually upgrade Apex as well. And so that is the Apex INS. And you give it the Apex schema, the Apex table space, the temp table space, and the image virtual directory. To remove Apex, you actually will, from Oracle Home /Apex, use the APX remov.sql. And that will actually remove Apex from the Apex schema from your database. Yeah, I have another question here. So if I have a large non-CDB, multi-terabytes, would it be better to have this as the only PDB in a new 22CB? This is heavy OLTP financial database. Very good question. This is what we get quite a bit. Our biggest thing that we do for our customers, in fact, the way that we get introduced to most of our customers is through performance tuning. I often get calls and referrals from Oracle and also from our other customers saying, we have a customer that's having a lot of performance problems. And for those customers, when we migrate them or upgrade them to 19C, they only have one pluggable database. And it's really dependent on the resources you have on that box. As you have multiple PDBs on the same container, they share resources, share memory resources, share compute resources, and even the file system resources or ASM resources as well. And so, but if you have a very heavy OLTP financial database and you're upgrading to 23C, I would recommend that you at least start with just creating a PDB by itself. And if you have rack, we have customers with 5-node racks, and we have customers who are virtualized with racks as well. And again, it's the if you don't have performance problems today, 19C, you should not have performance problems on 23C. All right, so let me go here. Let me go through security real quick, and I apologize for kind of running long, but let's talk about blockchain tables, immutable backups, and SQL firewall, and then we'll go from there. All right, so blockchain tables were introduced in 21C, and they got backported to 19C. So, but you must be on 1911, are you? And set the compatible to 1911. Basically, blockchain tables and immutable tables are both insert-only tables. The key difference with blockchain is that each row is hashed of the data in the previous row with a portion of the data. From a immutable tables perspective, again, it was a 21C and backported to 19C. Data cannot be modified in the tables. So like I said before, from a blockchain table perspective, except for the first row is chained to the previous row but with a cryptographic hash, and the hash is computed as part of the row. So because you have that hashing algorithm going on, additional processing is required at the time of commit. And also with immutable tables, rows are not chained together. For immutable tables, only rows that are outside the specific retentions can be deleted. And so when you create a table, you say, do not allow any deletes for 100 days. And you can use the DBMS immutable table delete expired rows to delete all the rows beyond that specific threshold. The thing about both immutable and blockchain, once you create these tables with the no delete option, you can't drop these tables until it literally expired. And so we had people who were playing with us at the very beginning, they ended up rebuilding the database. Okay, so with 23C, there's a lot more blockchain features enabled. So in the earlier releases, the blockchain tables only were created really with system chains. Now with 23C, we have a user chain based on a set of 3 defined columns. And mainly it's increases flexibility and validation and verification processes. Blockchain now has the capability to track row versions, and we can look at the historical version of a row for blockchain. Blockchain table also now keeps a log history, meaning that flashback data archive history is actually embedded as part of the blockchain table itself. For blockchain and immutable tables, we can now add or drop columns. We have the concept of a counter signature added in blockchain and 23C at the time of signing a row, or we can actually delegate a signer. And here's a really big important one, which is the set long idle retention time. As you've seen earlier with the example, 100 days. If I can't delete a row in 100 days, but I have space issues. And so now we have the ability, based on retention times and based on special privileges, to be able to delete rows as needed. So we have immutable tables. In 23C, Oracle introduced the concept of an immutable RMAN backup. So with the immutable RMAN backup, going to OCI, remember with the, if you purchase object storage from Oracle, you can also buy the RMAN option to be able to encrypt backups to OCI. And basically Oracle treats object storage in OCI as tape media or MML library. And so now I can back up my databases to OCI, and you can actually make it as immutable backups. With 23C, my password can now be up to 1,024 bytes. Previous release was only 30. And you'll see the support with Java clients, JDBC connections as well. And from a data pump perspective, now you can have in those passwords up to 500 characters. With 23C, the default encryption algorithm changes for AES and ARIA to 256. The default TDE was 196 AES. The default TDE table space encryption was AES 128. Now it's 256. There's a lot more features, security enabled in the RMAN integrity check for encrypted keys. And also TLS 1.3 is supported with 23C. So you should be on TLS 1.2 right now. We have taken a lot of our customers to TLS 1.2, especially customers who need that secure communication with the app servers. All right, so I've got 3 more slides. I promise it'll end quick. Starting in 18C, Oracle gave us the capability to kill a statement, not a session. In 19C, Oracle gave us the ability to not only kill a query, but also quarantine that query or quarantine that SQL ID so that it can't ever come back to the database again. So we have the concept of quarantining. And now in 23C, Oracle introduced the concept of SQL firewall. Now we're building in an allow list of SQL statements and also session context information like IP addresses and OS user. And so with this, we can now start with, here's a list of SQL IDs that's allowed. And then it's a whole new layer of protection that customers get. So for financial customers, banks, this could be a huge thing for them. You can query the DBA SQL firewall violations, dictionary view, and look at all the violations that's occurred. You can also export and import the SQL firewall metadata from one database to another. And there's the DBMS SQL firewall store packages to enable capture, stop capture. And so the whole idea is that as you capture, you're setting and creating your allow list. And then you generate the allow list and enable the allow list. And there's numerous DBA SQL firewall dictionary views, violations to allowed SQL, to allowed OS programs, and capture logs. All right, so I'm going to end it there. Any other questions? And we already talked about JSON duality, so we can stop it here.
Last call for questions. There's some really good questions today. Thank you guys for being so interactive with Charles. It's always nice to see.
Yeah, CMU. I don't know if that's a question for, yes, there are some, so in one of the some people say the #1 feature of 18C was the Active Directory integration. And with 19C, there's some enhancements, and 23C, there's more enhancements as well. But it's more of the ability to, from a CMU perspective, ability to connect an additional protocols that it supports. And so again, for the person who's asking about CMU, please ping me and I can get you more of the details. Sorry.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for spending some time past the hour with us. I hope you guys got a lot of great information from Charles today. If you've got any questions, please respond to our follow-up emails. You'll see how to access today's webinar, the recording from NYOUG and at aurapub.com. So whichever one you'd like, it'll be there, as well as the slide deck from today. I think it's like well over 100 slides, but hopefully you'll find what you need. And if you've got any other questions, it looks like Charles is sharing his email. You can reach him at ckim@viscosityna.com. You can also follow him on Twitter, and you can always respond to one of us via email. So thank you guys so much for spending this hour with us. Charles, thank you so much for giving us all that time and information. And NYOUG, Coleman, Rob, thank you guys for your partnership. We really appreciate it. I did drop in the chat a link. If you enjoyed watching Charles today, he's going to be doing another presentation on the 25th, so coming up soon, and it's going to be about new innovations with Oracle Database Appliance. So check that out. It's also on our event page if you don't see my chat. Patrick, thanks for the thank you, which is for Charles. So thank you guys so much. Again, if you have any questions, you'll have resources to respond to after today. Give us about a day to get everything online. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. Charles, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.